Section 12 of The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2. The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2, by Thomas Burgoyne. Chapter 11. The Magic Wand. This is the last lesson of our present course. That requires a clear definition of the terms employed in the title thereof. For the 12th and final study is, perhaps, fortunate in having for its title a word that has not, so far, been misused and distorted from its original sense. The magic wand. The words savor of everything that the young tyro in occult art can picture to his mind, of the midnight magician and his mysterious, if not diabolical, arts, muttering his incantations, working his gruesome spells, and raising the restless ghosts of the dead. Strange fancies, these, and yet so corrupt and ignorant have become the conceptions of the popular mind regarding the once sacred science of the temple and the psychological powers of nature, that we very much question if the ideas above stated were not very similar to the originals of each modern student before he had become acquainted with the deeper truths, the realities of occult philosophy. We will commence our study by a careful investigation of the original meaning of the words magic wand, since those who were the masters and originators thereof are far more likely to know more about them than their degenerate offspring of a later age. Few, comparatively, would believe that the words magic, mason, and imagination are the present unrelated descendants of the same original conception, the root idea, but such is the case. First, then, we will examine their modern meanings. Magic is the unholy art of working secret spells, of using invisible powers and holding intercourse with the unseen world of ghosts and demons by means of enchantments. It is also means the expert deception of the senses by the tricks of a conjurer, so-called hocus pocus and fraud, and a magician is either an evil-minded, superstitious mortal, fool enough to believe in charms, or an expert pretender and impostor of the first water, who cheats and deceives the people. A mason is the honorable designation of a builder who works in stone, metaphysically a member of a semi-secret society whose sole advantage is social intercourse and standing, who proclaim fraternity and universal brotherhood theoretically and practice the reverse in reality. A man who apes the Egyptian mason knows nothing in reality of Hiram, his master, who knows nothing of the starry Solomon or his mystic temple in the heavens which Hiram built, and who misconceives the import of the three villains or assassins, and who further knows nothing of that wonderful sprig of myrtle. In short, a Freemason, speaking generally, is a man who delights in ideals, social equality, secret fraternity, and plays at mysticism, who parades on the Masonic stage and enacts a role he does not understand. The first meaning, that of a builder, is the most correct. Lastly, the imagination is the exercise of mental imagery, the picturings of silent thought. And now we will proceed backwards. Imagination is from the word image, a form, a picture, and has descended to us from the Latin imago, which in its turn was derived from the old Semitic root mag. Mason comes to us from the Latin mass, which means to mold and form, i.e., to build, and the word mass, through various transformations, was also derived from the root word mag. Consequently, originally, there was but little difference in the ancient idea of building pictures in the mind and erecting the mental idea externally in stone. It is from this fact that we have today mental masons, a la the secret orders and stonemasons, who labor for wages. The mental masons have merely lost the knowledge of their art. They should, by rights, be as active and correspondingly useful today as their more physical brothers, the masons of stone. This art would never have fallen into disgrace and disuse if their daily bread or material accumulations had depended upon their efforts in building up the mental, moral, and spiritual attainments of each other, and bringing their knowledge into more external use by making the material edifice, the physical body, a purer and more fitting temple for the divine soul. Magic comes from the Latin magi and the Greek word magos, which means wise, learned in the mysteries, and was the synonym of wisdom. The initiated philosopher, the priest, and the wise men are all of them included in the magi. Again, tracing this word to its remote ancestor, we find it terminating in the same Semitic root, mag, but of this strange root no one was able to say much, except that it seemed to belong to the Assyrian branch of the great Semitic race. But quite recently, thanks to our scientific explorers and archaeologists, versed in the mysterious meaning of cuneiform inscription, Assyrian scholars now inform us that they have found the hoary, primitive original of it, of magic, magi, and imago, etc. It is from an old Akkadian word, imga, meaning wise, holy, and learned, and was used as the distinguishing title of their wisest sages, priests, and philosophers, who, as may be supposed, gradually formed a peculiar caste, which merged into the ruling priestly order. The Semites, who succeeded the old Akkadian race in the valley of the Euphrates as a mere matter of verbal convenience, transformed many of the old Akkadian words to suit their own articulation, and imga became mag, and thus magi. The blend between the Semitic and the older Akkadian race, produced by fusion of racial blood, the famed Chaldeans. So that we see how old are the words which many of us daily use, but with different meaning. Verily, it makes one feel, when he thinks of magic and its origin, as though he were quite nearly related to the people who honored King Sargon, the wise, the earthly original of the mystic Solomon of biblical tradition. The term wand is an old Saxon word which primarily signifies to set in motion, to move. From this we derive our word wander, i.e., to roam, and wandering, i.e., moving, and continually restless. We have now the original, therefore real, meaning of the words magic wand, thus an object that sets in motion the powers of the magician, and the magician, an initiate of the sacred rites, a master of wisdom, possessing all the resources that enable him to build, mold, and form, to create, in fact, by virtue of his knowledge of the secret powers of mental imagery and the potential use of his own imagination. He is both mental mason and learned philosopher. The student may doubtless ask, why all this care and labor regarding mere definitions? We reply that it is because the real meaning of the words we have purposely selected for the title of our studies are, in themselves, a far better revelation than we could possibly have written. Originally, ideas and words were related as absolute expressions or correspondences of each other. This is not so now. As the different races become interblended, the purity of both language and morals retrograded, and the people grew more to the external. The intuitions and spirit were compelled to retreat, giving place to only the intellectual and mental. The blending of the languages gave birth to many words, wherein different meanings were transmitted. Hence, the trouble arising today over the numerous interpretations of a single word. Hybrid races have no such thing as a pure language. Their ideas and languages, like their blood, is badly mixed up, confusing, and unsatisfactory, so far as the real meaning of the words are concerned. For this very reason, we find so many different meanings for the same word, and also for this reason, we cannot formulate a legal enactment in the Anglo-Saxon tongue that a learned lawyer, versed in this senseless jugglery of words, cannot demonstrate to the satisfaction of the courts, means something the very opposite of the real intentions, the spirit, which the framers thereof intended it to convey. Anciently, it required no artful cunning of the lawyer to interpret the laws. The words had only one simple and obvious meaning. If a language could be so constructed today, and the antiquated precedents of the courts annihilated, the legal profession would be exterminated inside of 12 months, and an infliction removed from the people. The philosophy of the magic wand is this: it is a magnetic, electric conductor for the magician's will. It directs the flow of his thought and concentrates it upon a given point in space or an object. It is, magically, what the sights of a rifle are to a sportsman. It enables him to focus his powers with exact precision upon the mark against which, or upon which, his will is directed. Apart from this, there is no power per se in the wand itself, any more than there is in a lightning conductor without the electric storm. Ergo, the wand is the conductor in the magician's hand for the lightnings of the soul, and just as the lightning rod is most useful and most powerful to protect when the storm is the strongest, so is the wand more powerful in the hands of the most potential magician. We can only transmit through this wand the degree of force we may happen to possess in the soul. In a properly prepared wand lies the most powerful weapon to protect or destroy that can be placed within a magician's hands. With his own spiritual force and knowledge, combined with the magic power attached to the instrument, nothing can withstand its power when directed with a determined and powerful will. Many substances have been employed in the manufacture of these magic wands. Metals or stones will not serve this purpose unless covered with some organic matter. In any case, stones are worthless. The very finest wands are made from the live ivory of a female elephant. A short wand, 21 inches long, tipped with gold at the largest end and silver or copper at the other, is very powerful. Next to these costly articles are wands with a gold or copper core, a wire, in fact, cased with ebony, boxwood, rosewood, cedar, or sandalwood. English yew also serves the purpose. So does almond wood. Simpler, less expensive, and almost as effective are wands made of witch hazel. In fact, apart from the wands of live ivory, I consider that witch hazel is as powerful as the golden wand. Next in force to this witch hazel are the shoots of the almond tree, and lastly, the peach and swamp willow. The proper time to manufacture a magic wand is whenever you can find the person who is able to do the work. But after it is constructed, it must be thoroughly magnetized with proper ceremony and aspiration. The first or the second full moon after the sun enters Capricorn at midnight, when the moon will be culminating in her own sign upon the mid-heaven. The best time to cut a shoot of witch hazel or other material for a wand is the first full moon after the sun's entry into Capricorn at midnight, and then magnetize it upon the next full moon at the same hour. In conclusion, let us repeat that the magic wand is but the highly sensitive magical medium for transmitting and concentrating the force of the learned magician, that it is equally powerful under great excitement of mind, whether used consciously or not. The stream of mental fire will go in the direction the wand happens to be pointed, and therefore should never be in the hands of the wicked or foolish, any more than firearms. It is potential or otherwise in exact proportion to the artist's wisdom and dynamic mentality, and is useless in the hands of the idiotic or weak-minded. A magic wand requires brains and vigorous mental force to make it effective, just as the steam engine requires an apparatus for generating the steam that moves it. With a determined will and a mental conception of one's inward power, any man or woman can, by means of this sensitive wand, defy all the legionnaires of hell, and quickly disperse every form of spiritual iniquity. The firearms, which have become so intricate in their mechanism and so destructive in their operations, are only a degeneration of the magic wand. The first weapons of warfare and slaughter were very crude and clumsy, then larger and more destructive, until at last they have become as fine in texture and mechanical genius, compared with their early brothers, as the magic wand is today, above and beyond the present weapons of warfare. At last, the original mode of defense will be rediscovered and become a utility in the hands of the majority of mankind. At the same time, the mental and moral nature will be evolving into better conditions too, so that their use will not be given to the ignorant and evildoers, but placed in charge of the educated, those who are morally capable of leading and ruling. Yes, we are now stepping upon the plane of reason and intuition, where right, not might, will prevail and rule the world. The present mode of government and rule will be changed, and one of humanitarian justice takes its place. God hasten the millennium. End of section 12. Section 13 of The Light of Egypt, or the Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2. The Light of Egypt, or the Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2, by Thomas Burgoyne. Chapter 12. The Tablets of Aeth, in 3 parts. Part 1, the 12 mansions. Part 2, the 10 planetary rulers. Part 3, the 10 great powers of the universe. Part 1 of the 12 Mansions. Here beginneth Chapter 1 of the book which is called the Tablets of Aeth, wherein is transcribed the first quadrant of the 12 Mansions. I sent my soul through the invisible, some lesson of that afterlife to spell, and by my soul returned to me, and answered, I, myself, am heaven and hell. The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on, nor all your pity nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. Aries. Symbol: a deep blue sky, a blaze as if something were about to rise. 1. Reflection. Tablet the first. The blush of dawn of a new life, all nature quivering with the sense of coming, conscious life, Isis, vibrant with love of the coming child, her bosom flushed in expectation of the little sun soon to breathe on her yearning breast. In this we trace the great lesson of preparation, of sending the light before the form, of the prophecy before the fulfillment. Dawn must precede sunrise. What you expect will be your destiny. It is the longing of centuries that incarnates a God, a real sun god, whose vibrant love life can thrill other lives into prayer, aspiration, the struggle for eternal life. The dawn represents the expectant maternity of nature, God. O child of Adam, see that thou expecteth much, and that thy aspirations are reflected in thy outward life. Tablet the second. Taurus. Symbol: a red sun on the horizon of an inky sea. 2. Reflection. Tablet the second. Nature has shown forth her glory as brought forth by young Horus, but her creative force is still unreflected. The sea is black and inky. The Son of God is born, but the sea of human life still remains unconscious in primeval darkness. The angles of the sun and the sea are not yet in right relation to each other. A few, standing on the watchtowers of life, seeing the red glow of the risen sun, call, "Look!" But the unfortunate ones in the outer darkness cry, as they beat their breasts, "No! There is no light. You do but dream." And yet the sun of life has risen. The divine light glows. O child of Adam, remember that in him was life, and life was the light of man, and the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Tablet the third. Gemini. Symbol: two stars are rising at angles to each other and to the polar star, while 8 stars shine faintly in the black space of background. 3. Reflection. Tablet the third. The divine symbol of soul matehood is here signified in the 2 stars rising in the foreground, not only the soul affinities of humanity, but the eternal father-mother forces manifested in the biune spirit of universal life and nature, the 2 great creative powers, life and light, whose harmony creates love, attraction and repulsion, and the straight lines of law and justice, which blend in the spiral of mercy. The 2 stars are rising at an oblique angle to the pole star, the center around which material things revolve. So, too, life and love are balanced by the star of wisdom. Love in the spirit is adaptation to the environment in matter, and providence in universal life. The 8 stars reveal the mystery of the tablet: universal death, present with life. The final end of all discord glimmers faintly afar off, and man questions the love of God, seeing that all things pass away, not realizing that death is the germinal promise of life, of transformation, of the realization of unrealized hopes, of the union of loving hearts in their starry pilgrimage back to the Father's home. O child of Adam, listen unto the words of the teacher. I and the Father are one. Suffer little children to come unto me, for of such I the kingdom of heaven. Part 1. Here beginneth chapter 2 of the book, which is called the Tablets of Aeth, wherein is transcribed the second quadrant of the 12 mansions. How they struggle in the immense universe, how they whirl and seek. Innumerable souls that all spring forth from the vast world soul. They drop from planet to planet, and in the abyss they weep for their forgotten land. These are thy tears, O Dionysus, O Spirit vast, divine one, liberator. Draw back thy daughters to the breast of light. Ah, love, could you and I with him conspire to grasp this sorry scheme of things entire? Would we not shatter it to bits, and then remold it nearer to the heart's desire? Tablet the 4th. Cancer. Symbol: a woman's face, unconscious, in trance, surrounded by clouds. 4. Reflection. Tablet the 4th. The dreaming woman, whose brooding thoughts shape the coming man. The race is never any farther advanced than the average thought of the woman. She is yet sleeping, knowing not her powers. So, not until she awakes and recognizes herself as conceiving by the Holy Ghost and the mother of the incarnate God, will that God be brought forth into universal knowledge. In this is the great lesson to women. Ever remember thy creative power as the mother of the humanity of the future. The sun in thy mansion exerts its highest power. Awake, therefore, O soul, and eclipse not its brightness with thy dreams of sublunary power. O child of Adam, ever honor the womb that gave thee birth, and know that all thy earthly greatness received its seed therefrom. A fountain cannot rise higher than its source. Tablet the 5th. Leo. Symbol: a man's arm, bent, exceedingly muscular, a knife in the hand, a streak of lightning opposite the arm, which is defying the lightning. 5. Reflection. Tablet the 5th. Here we have the symbol of the incarnate fire of the spirit defying the mere natural fire of the heavens. The woman sleeps and broods and dreams, but the man she has brought forth is awake, and bids defiance to the fiery forces of nature. He has armed himself with the keen knife of action, and with it has conquered the forces of matter. He has harnessed the lightning, and made the electric fluid his obedient slave, and thus has he mastered all forces inferior to spirit, that spirit of conscious life, which is his birthright. The lesson to be gleaned from this is that the kingdom of nature must be taken by storm, not for rest, but for work, has Mother Nature sent forth her man-child, not for peace, but for battle, not for inertia, but for effort. O child of Adam, arm yourself with the sword, mayhap the sword of affliction, and, gallantly raising the strong right hand aloft, hurl defiance at the chaos of nature, sure that the fire from the sun of the spirit is burning in every vein of that arm. Tablet the 6th. Virgo. Symbol: a lotus rising from the water, coiled around its stem a snake, whose efforts fail to reach the flower. 6. Reflection. Tablet the 6th. Here we have the sacred flower, symbol of the virgin soul, uncontaminated by the snake of passion, which can only enfold the body, the stem, the snake of matter, of lust, of evil. But the flower of the spirit, the soul, lifts its pure white petals upward as an incense cup to the sun of the spirit. In this symbol read the great lesson of the experience of evil. If the flower of the soul blossoms, the mud of the soil and the snake of the passions are but the surroundings of its roots and stem. Both are necessary for the perfection of the flower. The roots sink deep into Mother Earth and draw nourishment and life, lifting matter upward, while the snake of passion becomes, under another aspect, the serpent of wisdom. Coiled around the stem of this life, it gives to the incarnated soul that wisdom which later blossoms in the seraph of the sun spheres. O child of Adam, take suffering if it forge the sword of the spirit. Take evil and passion and turn them into deep lessons of life, blossoming the evil into good, changing passion into wisdom. Only the pure in heart can see God. Part 1. Here beginneth chapter 3 of the book, which is called The Tablets of Aeth, wherein is transcribed the third quadrant of the 12 mansions. To know what really exists, one must cultivate silence with oneself, for it is in silence that the eternal and unexpected flowers open, which change their form and color according to the soul in which they grow. Souls are weighed in silence as gold and silver are weighed in pure water. The worldly hope men set their hearts upon turn to ashes, or it prospers, and anon, like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting a little hour or two, is gone. Tablet the 7th. Libra. Symbol: a crowned king with a scythe raised in the air, looks closely at two boys wrestling beneath him in a field of grain, a red poppy below them. 7. Reflection. Tablet the 7th. The symbol of nature's eternal war for the impossible equilibrium between spirit and matter. The symbol also of time, which is but the illusion in which eternity clothes itself, forever putting on and forever putting off new garments of matter. The crowned king is the victorious soul, waiting with the scythe of time to reap the harvest of the world, while incarnated man, as represented in the wrestling youths, is struggling for that which he did not produce, and which only death can reap. The poppy reveals the secret of the illusions of nature's master showman. All earthly things are unreal to the spirit, which is the only real thing. Man's effort to hoard and save the things of this world is injustice to others. The struggle is eternal, and no matter how careful or cunning man is to monopolize either power, truth, or wealth, swift-footed time will readjust all things without error. O child of Adam, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. Tablet the 8th. Scorpio. Symbol: a wide and plain, on it a skeleton, a dull gray sky in which an eagle soars, full fed, it seems, from the flesh of the skeleton. 8. Reflection. Tablet the 8th. A significant symbol to the seer, showing forth the two ultimates of life and death, of earthly things and sex. Scorpio is both the eagle of the spirit, soaring aloft, well fed with all that is worth carrying away from the earth, and also the scorpion, whose natural home is the desert. Tablet the 8th, a significant symbol to the seer, showing forth the two ultimates of life and death, of earthly things and sex. Scorpio is both the eagle of the spirit, soaring aloft, well fed with all that is worth carrying away from the earth, and also the scorpion, whose natural home is the desert. In sex, either way, life is given. Shall it be to your spirit making fat and full your immortal self, or will the other interpretation be yours? And will you leave yourself dead and annihilated, a skeleton to the ego, the divine spirit? For sex is indeed the foundation of all. Raised to the region of Libra, it is power and magnetism. To the bosom, it is love. To the brain, it is enthusiasm. It is the Promethean fire of life, the creative force, giving vigor to whatever region to which it is raised or lowered to be spent with no returns. It debases and renders life a desert of dry bones. O child of Adam, reflect on the fall of man from spirit to matter, and combine the wisdom of the serpent with the purity of the dove, and lest ye partake of the trees of life, ye shall surely die. Tablet the 9th, Sagittarius. Symbol: a child in a shell holding in its hand a feathered lance, is drawn by 5 stars grouped in an under arc. 9. Reflection. Tablet the 9th. The symbol of the conscious soul. The shell is the body drawn by the 5 senses, stars, which form an under arc to represent the world of material things and our relation thereto. The child armed with the feathered lance is the soul. Riding thus, fully armed in the shell of the body, it realizes the duality of truth, that all things are changeable, and that each thing is true upon the plane of its manifestation, while an allusion to that which is interior to its life, while the soul is in its dream state. Sagittarius represents conservatism and the permanence of crystallized institutions. But when the spirit awakes and bursts the shell of matter, the senses, instead of being the guardians and jailers of its environment, become its servants, and the means by which, united as the one ego, sense perception, it races o'er the fields of faith, a being of life and beauty, shining in the empty ring of God. O child of Adam, ever remember that temperament and environment constitute the north and south poles of human possibility, and that ability, combined with opportunity, is the measure of responsibility. Part 1. Here beginneth chapter 4 of the book, which is called The Tablets of Aeth, wherein is transcribed the 4th quadrant of the 12 mansions. A hair, perhaps, divides the false and true. Yes, and a single a leaf were the clue, could you but find it, to the treasure house, and, peradventure, to the master too. Beware, O my son, of self-incense. It is the most dangerous on account of its agreeable intoxication. Learn, O my beloved, that the light of Allah's truth will often penetrate an empty head more easily than one too crammed with learning. Tablet the 10th, Capricorn. A deep, black ground o'er which shimmers a phosphorescent light. At each side an aurora borealis rises, mountain-like, above all, a tiny star. 10. Reflection. Tablet the 10th. Here is revealed the symbol of the messenger of the Most High. The star hovers over the phosphorescent light cast on the darkness as the spirit hovers over the blackness of matter. The aurora borealis stands as the emblem for the magnetic attraction of earth on spirit, the Christ soon to be born in the manger of the goat, the descent of the Holy Ghost into material form, so that heavenly truth may illumine the drear speculum of earthly thought with the divine iridescence of celestial light. It is the lowest arc of the cycle that reveals the new birth of death unto life, the divine egg of Brahma, containing the promise of the new law, peace on earth, goodwill towards men. O child of Adam, be thou the star, and not a dweller of the outer darkness, and let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. Tablet the 11th. Aquarius. Symbol: a stormy sea is seen. Above it the 8 stars shine, brilliant and clear. 11. Reflection. Tablet the 11th. This tablet symbolizes the complete materialization of man. Man, perfect on the earth and the Lord thereof, in so far as material forces are concerned. The storm is the tempest of life, the whirl of the elements of matter in their battle with the spirit. The 8 stars, brilliant now, for they are the same stars that were dimly seen in Gemini, show that the conquest of matter is complete, the great fall of spirit finished, the end of involution, and this would bring stagnation and death if peace now ensued. The lesson taught is that not in peace and rest can the soul grow, but amidst the earthquakes that shake thrones, the floods that overwhelm countries, the fires that reduce to ashes, has the strong man soul grown to its present state and power. So fear not the storm, but the calm, not the unrest, but the quiet. Fear not the battle, but the ignoble peace of the coward. O child of Adam, the astral soul must learn to do and dare. Not over the brave man's grave shall it be written, rest in peace, but I will arise and go to my Father. Tablet the 12th. Pisces. Symbol: a comet, beyond it infinite things, only dreamed of as yet, a world floating in an ocean, and in night, beneath are 2 hands clasped, palm to palm. 12. Tablet the 12th. A revelation of the to be. The comet is the 12th avatar, the herald, coming forth from the starry abyss of the infinite, staying with us a little while, and then flashing on his shiny way to other worlds than ours, bearing the divine word from sun to planet as the fiery messenger of God. And here the soul may well ask, who, where, whence, and whither? For behold, he has come and gone, and earth could not answer, nor the seas that mourn, inflowing purple of their Lord forlorn, nor rolling heaven with all his signs revealed and hidden by the sleeve of night and morn. The world floating in the sea of the infinite and resting in night shows the present state of humanity, but the blush of dawn is ready to gladden the soul, and the expectant seer from his lonely vigil on the hilltop awaits the sunlight which will soon flood the world anew. The 2 clasped hands point to many problems, chiefly soul, matehood, the message of the starry messenger, universal brotherhood, and the father, motherhood of God. O child of Adam, watch and pray, that a voice of the silence may speak unto you. Here endeth the 4 quadrants of the tablets of the 12 mansions, wherein are revealed the signs and symbols thereof, as faithfully transcribed from the sacred roll in the astral records, and called the tablets of 8th April 1893. Part 2 of the book, which is called the Tablets of 8th of the 10 planetary rulers. Part 2. Here beginneth chapter 1 of the second part of the book, which is called the Tablets of 8th, wherein is transcribed the first trinity of the planetary rulers. The human heart is the true temple of God. Enter ye into your temples, and illumine them with good thoughts. The sacred vessels, they are your hands and your eyes. Do I say that which is agreeable to God, doing good to your neighbors? But first embellish wherein dwells He who gave you life. How small soever your lamp be, never give away the oil which feeds it, but only the light and flame which crown it. Tablet the first, the sun. Symbol, a flaming splendor, a center of light, radiating in all directions. 1. Reflection. Tablet the first, the symbol of all created life, spiritual and material, of all goodness, human or divine, the center of all thought, from brutal instinct to deific wisdom, of all creations, from starry systems to man, and from man back again to invisible gas, of all action, from the imperceptible vibrations of nerve energy to the awful destruction of worlds. All creative potency lies within a sun sphere. Light is life. The planets are but the offspring of light and life. So in this symbol, we read the source of the human ego, of our own life. We are, as it were, the planets of the spiritual sun. Our souls are the attributes of the sun, of the spiritual ego. Only from the ego can we receive life eternal and make immortality a fact. Obeying the spiritual life force, the human monad is but an attribute, the symbol of all created life, spiritual and material, of all goodness, human or divine, the center of all thought, from brutal instinct to deific wisdom, of all creations, from starry systems to man, and from man back again to invisible gas, of all action, from the imperceptible vibrations of nerve energy to the awful destruction of worlds. All creative potency lies within a sun sphere. Light is life. The planets are but the offspring of light and life. So in this symbol, we read the source of the human ego, of our own life. We are, as it were, the planets of the spiritual sun. Our souls are the attributes of the sun, of the spiritual ego. Only from the ego can we receive life eternal and make immortality a fact. Obeying the spiritual life force, the human monad is but an attribute, a reflection of the divine ego, and if it fails to awake to a consciousness of this union, it withers and dies like a flower plucked from the parent tree of life. O child of Adam, in reverence and awe do thou meditate upon this tablet, for it is a thing of beauty, a being of light, life, and love, manifesting its creative mission. It is the vicegerent of God, flaming forth his splendors in the sky. Tablet the second, Mercury, symbol, an elephant kneeling between two square columns, on one an eagle, on the other a vulture. At the side a boy with bow and arrow, standing in doubt which to shoot. Below these a human face, composed of various flowers, whose roots are snakes, a poppy forming an eye which winks. 2. Reflection. Tablet the second. A vision revealing the earthly drama of the microcosm. The elephant represents the highest expression of intelligence, minus the spirit, kneeling between the square columns of matter, i.e., guarded by them. The external mind is sleeping, or at most, dreaming of the things of the spirit. Above sleeping mind sit the two birds, who represent spirit and matter, each waiting for the slowly preparing feast. The boy, the soul with its weapons, has a choice. Shall it be the sensuality of the flesh that he shall destroy, or the possibilities of the spiritual life on earth? The problem awaits solution. The eagle sits ready to bear aloft the spirit of the sleeper. The vulture hopes for sleep to end in death, that he may live upon the carriage thereof. The flowers of the external mind have for their roots the snakes, and in a larger sense, the flowers of immortality have the serpent of wisdom for their roots. And the poppy winks. It knows its own power of illusion and the double significance of the snake, the necessity of evil in the evolution of good. It is the tablet of wisdom. O child of Adam, be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Tablet the third, Venus. Symbol, an altar, on it 2 cups, one full, the other spilled. Near them 2 bleeding hearts, in one a snake, in the other a dagger. Above, clouds, from which comes a woman's face, a wreath in the hand. Coming out of the cloud, in the wreath, an angel, going upwards with wings outspread. 3. Reflection. Tablet the third. There is but one altar, but one blood of the sacrament in 2 cups, but one flesh of the Christ, the ego, in 2 hearts. 2 experiences in love, ecstasy, and pain. 2 results of experience, the serpent and the dagger, symbolizing wisdom and affliction. Above the altar, the divine woman holds the wreath encircling the angel. The angel of immortal life rises from the altar of sacrifice. Some of the wine is spilled as offering. The cup that is filled is raised to raw. To serve as the altar of love is the sole mission of all, even as Christ served his disciples. Each soul must find its own service, and then the pilgrims of the sun return to the mansions of the blessed. The great mother god, Venus, Urania, quivers and thrills as she holds forth her offspring, the angel, the young Eros of life eternal. O child of Adam, this is the tablet of love. Meditate thereon as the last of the triune God. In this tablet lies the secret of suffering and pleasure. He who vibrates in pain will quiver in ecstasy. Only those who have agonized in hell can thrill in heaven. Part 2. Here beginneth chapter 2 of the second part of the book, which is called the Tablets of Aeth, wherein is transcribed the second trinity of the planetary rulers. Thou art called forth to this fair sacrifice. For a draught of milk with the Maruts come hither, O Agni. They who knew the great sky, the Visv, Devas without guile, with those Maruts, come hither, O Agni. They who are brilliant of awful shape, powerful and devourers of foes, with the Maruts, come hither, O Agni. They who in heaven are enthroned as gods, in the light of the firmament with the Maruts, come hither, O Agni. Let us meditate on the adorable light of the divine rulers. May it guide our intellects. Tablet the fourth, the moon. Symbol, night. A wonderful spider's web. The web glitters in the faint moonlight against a dark background of blue. Moon invisible, on the outside of web a star, in the center a spot of light, underneath a coffin filled with stones. 4. Reflection. Tablet the fourth. The web of life has caused the monad of the soul, and thus incarnated the universe, for each soul incarnates its universe at birth, each one's world being different and peculiar unto himself. At the first breath, the young child polarizes his relations to stars and earth, and it is the affinity and repulsion which make his life experience. And the stars weave the web in their lines of sextile, square, and trine, of opposition and conjunction, thus enveloping the monad in the circle of necessity. Outside the star of the spirit, the ego shines clear, free from the entanglements of the web, and unaffected by the magnetic glamour of the moon. And lo, the coffin is filled with stones, a symbol of death, and the moon, which is but a casket of stones. Therefore, little monad, caught in the tangle of the web of life and the glamour of earthly things, take heart, for beyond all is the star of your being. Call down the law of that star into yourself, and the web is broken and waves its tattered shreds in the breeze. The moonlight, the reflected light, pales as the star sun of your being rises, and the moonlight of earth gives place to the sun spheres of Ra. O child of Adam, the beginning of sorrow is the dawn of spiritual life. The wise man rules the stars, the fools of earth obey. Tablet the fifth, Mars. Symbol: an immense helmet on pedestal, across which a streak of lightning flashes. Beside it a naked child painting pictures on the helmet, beneath a broken sword. 5. Reflection. Tablet the fifth. Can great irony be shown that in this astral symbol, Mars is externally represented as a fierce warrior, awful to behold, the reality, a little child, painting toy pictures on the helmet too big for his curly head. The lesson in this is indeed that the pen is mightier than the sword, that the big and blustering helmet will become a plaything for the child. Soon, that the sword of bloodshed, rape, and ruin will be broken and war relegated to the past, looked at but as pictures painted with hideous reality by the childhood of the race. The symbol also reveals the great executive forces of humanity, the child. The soul can paint, execute its ideas, its hopes, and its fears in any color, the lurid red of blood, the black of ignorance and crime, or in the living light of beauty. All the same, it is the childhood of man painting its ideals in the material world. O child of Adam, curb the anger of Mars, that thy painting may set the dove at liberty. Let the magic of thy soul transform the savage of the desert into the angel of mercy. Tablet the sixth, Jupiter. Symbol: a cave in the mountainside. A face like the Sphinx comes out of the cave. There is a blackness behind it. It looks with upturned head to a light that is way beyond. It is a face that means something awful, a godlike deviance to the things that are. 6. Reflection. Tablet the sixth. Again, we are impressed with the contrast of internal and external things. Jupiter, the symbol of authority, conservatism, church and state, and the stability of human institutions, and the things that are as the things that are the best. But oh, how widely different the internal, the real Jupiter, that governing power of the spirit that hurls defiance at unjust authority, the cruelty and tyranny of the world. The soul sees the light beyond, and, emerging from the dark chasm of matter, knows the battle that must be fought against wrong. It is the awful, yea, terrible symbol of defiance to gods and men who oppose its onward, upward march to the shining goal of light. Make way, then, make way, for Earth has given birth to her giant son, the Spirit. For, listen closely, my friend, to the axiom of immortality. What is soul? Not the spirit, mind you, not the deathless ego, of which you at present, perchance, know absolutely nothing. Soul is mere memory, a scavenger in earthly states, and a gleaner, a hired help in the fields of heaven. And to become immortal, there must be something more than soul as the result. It must take such a vital interest in its Lord's work that, finally, it becomes too valuable to lose, and must be taken into partnership, so to say. The ego, Lord, has found a valued servant, a trusted steward, after much seeking, and at once adopts it as its very own. And so the soul becomes heir to the heavenly estate, and receives the immortal, vital principle of spiritual union, and awakes from the Son of Earth, a godlike being, free from the shackles of time, a dweller in eternity. The soul must awake and realize the deific atom around which it revolves before it is too late. Unless this is so, the seed of immortal life, sown in matter by the ego, has not germinated, and it returns unfruitful and dies. It is an abortion. Many seeds never germinate. Many good orthodox but animal-like lives live, move, and die. Yes, die in very truth. Would to God I could make all mankind realize this awful, inconceivable privilege of life, that, Jupiter-like, they would turn and face the light. O child of Adam! It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Part 2. Here beginneth chapter 3 of the second part of the book, which is called The Tablets of Eighth, wherein the third and last Trinity of the planetary rulers is faithfully transcribed. Thou hast entered the immeasurable regions. I am the dweller of the threshold. What wouldst thou with me? Dost thou fear me? Am I not thy beloved? Is it not for me that thou hast rendered up the delights of thy race? Wouldst thou be wise? Mine is the wisdom of the countless ages. Kiss me, my mortal lover. Thus, man pursues his weary calling, and wrings the hard life from the sky, while happiness unseen is falling down from God's bosom silently. Tablet the seventh. Saturn. Symbol: a human figure with a scepter of power, a being of light crowned with flames. 7. Reflection. Tablet the seventh. In the external, we remember Saturn as an old man, and as a skeleton with a scythe, as time, in fact. But, see, O immortal soul, the real Saturn, as the angel of life, having from time gathered the experiences which crown him with light, holding the rod of power, the Christ born in the manger of Capricorn, the goat, life born of death, the conqueror of evil. He throws off the mask of age, and divine youth beams on us. He doffs the mantle of rags, and royal splendors clothe him. He lifts the hood, and behold the crown. He raises the crutch, and lo, the rod of power. He drops the scythe of death for the jewel of eternal life. Om Mani Padme O the jewel in the lotus. O child of Adam, meditate on the transmutations of life. Behold the earthly miracle of the caterpillar and the butterfly, of the toiling mortal and the transcendent God. Tablet the eighth. Uranus. Symbol: a human eye from which darts lightning upon an ocean of matter. 8. Reflection. Tablet the eighth. The state of soul and spirit, penetration, the wonderful power of soul perception, which sheds its light on all visible things, receiving their images and interpreting them into the spirit, the all-seer. What does it not convey? The perception that can see deep into your soul and see, as it were, the yet unborn thought that can distinguish the motive of action, that judges the realities of your soul. Such is the astral Uranian. For with us all are three planes of mind: the drift plane, the intellectual, and the spiritual or internal plane, and thought reading can be on one or all of these different states. But only the Uranian seer can read the inmost mind, and so really know the possibilities of your spirit. Imagine an image of soft wax covered with a sensitive skin. All impressions on the skin shape the plastic wax, but go no deeper, do not reach the soul. You can separate these impressions from your real self when calm and alone, and look upon emotion as a surface play. But the tragedies of life strike deep. They affect the soul and go to the center of being. Verbum sap. O child of Adam, watch the tempests of life closely. The ego may sit calm amidst the storm, but if that be stirred, beware. The God acts, the soul alone watches. Tablet the 9th. Neptune, a winged globe. 9. Reflection. Tablet the 9th. An unknown quantity, a hope of progression, ideal love, and all true mental and spiritual ideals, aspiration to become that which we feel to be noble and true, the symbol of the monad, the soul which, receiving its life from the sun, the ego is constantly revealing new forces and potencies of that God life. Each soul's ego is its maker and God. The ego is like the deific potency of the universe, unlimited in potential power, but limited by its monad as to what will be evolved from its awful depth of being. Deity progresses through its expressions of the cosmos. The ego, your God, finds progressive expression through you, through your soul. That soul is not immortal that becomes separated from its ego, its God. So, soul, spread your spiritual wings and soar upward. O child of Adam, know these 3 things. Eternity is the creator of the universal life. Universal life creates the world, and the world is the creator of time. And of these, the universe is life, and the world is mind, and time is the soul, the sum total of all its experience. And this is individual, conscious life. Jacta est alia, the die is cast, the wings are spread. Tablet the 10th, the cipher, the unknown. Symbol, a shining nebula, within it a dot, aimlessly wandering around an unknown center. 10. Reflection. Tablet the 10th. The unknown in very truth. It is everything. It is also nothing. Inconceivable visions arise within the mental universe, but nothing assumes definitive form. It is all that is past. It is likewise everything that the future has in store. Amen. O child of Adam, canst thou bring forth Mazaro in his season, or loose the bands of Orion? Part 3 of the book, which is called The Tablets of Aeth, of the 10 great Kabbalistic powers or angels of the universe. Part 3, Vision. Each angel standing in front of the symbol is dimly outlined and transparent. Through the angel's form is seen its symbol. First, a luminous something which gives the impression of sleep. Second, something moving like an ocean. Third, a storm and lightning. Fourth, a mist. Fifth, an animal moving, resembling a turtle. Sixth, a blue light in the center, a star with 3 points. Seventh, an expanse of water, a blue sky, a shining disk rising on the horizon. Eighth, a lurid sky, like a red dawn. In the water floats an egg. Ninth, 5 stars on a convex arc, like a rainbow. The shell of the egg is broken and forms continents. 10th, a man lying fast asleep under a magnificent palm tree, with his face turned toward the horizon of the sea. Explanation. Only the pure in heart can see God, and to those pure souls I commend the following brief explanation of the vision of the angels of life, which I have here recorded for the benefit of all whom it may now and hereafter concern. In the original vision of the tablets of Aeth, a great circle was seen. In the center, a head, a faint shimmer above the head, as if the light were about to dawn, a dull, lurid glow beneath, as it of chaos or hell. the hair around the head like floating clouds, the beard like strange cloud streaks. Each sign of the zodiac surrounding the center head had within it a faintly seen face. Beginning with the first, it became more and more distinct and perfect with each sign, until it evolved into godlike beauty in Pisces. The symbolic planets were around the zodiac, and beyond these, making a third grand circle, were the 10 evolutionary angels. The vision is that of the evolution of all life, spiritual and material. We gaze at the cosmic sex mystery, and the discerning mind, the loving spirit, can read the correspondence of the great sacred conjugal act of both man and God, of its heights, of its depths, and of all that lie between. To aid in meditation on the bead at the center, herein is written a vision, an experience of the soul in the sleep of Sialam. The Hermetic brethren encircled my astral body, which was deeply entranced. From whence, the great question quivered through my inmost being. To answer that awful problem of the soul, the released spirit went on its fearsome journey back through star systems, back beyond all stars, back to the blackness of nothing, that awful nothing, whose outside with fearful flames, the fiery cherubim winged, taking all possible shapes and unformed living shapes. A human flamed and changed and vanished. The tornado of whirling, flashing, chaotic life swirled and drove through the darkness of chaos, of nothing from nothing, and that great unknown abyss is God, but the life is evolutionary. Deity is progressive, so never can man cease to be. Never can he return to that awful center of nothingness, or be absorbed within the bosom of the unmanifested being. On and on and on with deific power, God moves in ever-increasing whirls of evolution. Thus came the answer of the ages. From primeval force, from the mighty breath of unmanifested being, through every phase of action and reaction, from the energies of storm and lightning, from star dust to sunlight, has come the spirit of man. And the astral brethren understood. The two seals of the earth: 1. Symbol, a human being with a flaming, burning heart. 2. Symbol, a round disk inside a light as from a sun, conceived but not seen. So here endeth the book which is called the Tablets of Aeth, transcribed from the astral origins in the year of doom. M.D. CCCXC 111. Omnia vincit veritas. Thy kingdom come. Zinoni, April 1893. End of section 13. Section 14 of The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2. The Light of Egypt, or The Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2, by Thomas Burgoyne. Chapter 13. Penetralia, the Secret of the Soul. We have now arrived at our final study, which we have approached step by step, amid the labyrinth of the mysteries concealed beneath the veil of Isis. We stand at last upon the very threshold of the sacred adytum, the Holy of Holies, from whence proceeds our final revelation of that inmost conception of man's identity with his Creator, the penetralia of his being, the last secret of the incarnated soul. The written word almost fails us, does fail in fact, when we come to the difficult task of externalizing ideas, the sublimity of which is so infinitely beyond the crystallized images of matter that they can only be realized in their true glory, when the purified soul can view them from the ineffable heights of eternal spirit. We are lost, dazed, at the brilliancy of the spiritual imagery that opens out before us in its fathomless stretch of the eternities that are past, of the ever imperishable present, and the unborn eternities yet to be, all of them linked together in one grand chain of spiritual relationship and deathless identity, as man, the angel, God, and God the angel, man as the triune cycle of being within the incomprehensible cycle of necessity, which constitutes nature's cosmic university for the complete graduation, education, and purification of that self-conscious, deific atom of life, whose expression becomes the human soul. Ah, my brothers, could you, but for one single instant, realize who you are, where you are journeying, and what your final destiny, every earthly moment at your disposal would be rightly used, and every hour considered too short for your efforts to aid your fellow man. Selfishness, wealth, and power would be so utterly contemptible in your sight that their possession would be considered a fearful affliction and a curse, the moment they exceeded the comfortable requirements of mundane existence. Leave self and the world behind you for the present, and, for the moment, leave your life, with its manifold vanities, in the outer court, and together let us cross the threshold and enter the door of the temple. There, at last, we have entered the sacred sanctuary, my brother, and we stand face to face with the imperishable truth of our being, the truth which makes us free, the truth which must ultimately prevail by virtue of its own inherent divinity. And we realize man as he really is, not as he outwardly seems to be. We view him as a molecule, composed of a congregation of separate atoms, all of them held in their places by the centripetal force of the central human atom of life. And yet, small as he is, small as his kingdom is, compared with the mighty creation of which he is a part, he possesses all the inherent qualities of the whole. This, then, is our first conception. Man is a microcosmic molecule, an atom of divine life. The scene changes within the chamber, and upon the shimmering, luminous veil yet before us, we view the large and mighty planet called the Earth, not as a revolving satellite of the sun, but as she really is, a vital organ of the macrocosm, the stellar womb of the solar system, the matrix which produces the material organic form of humanity. When the Earth was without form and void, as we are informed in the mystical language of Genesis, the human soul had not yet reached the state or grade in the celestial university that desired the earth and its temporary illusions. Hence this state was void, an unborn idea, the to be, and darkness, symbolical of complete lack of life and intelligence, was upon the face of the deep, silent space. Again the scene changes, and one by one the numberless planets, planetoids, moons, meteors, comets, and other attendant bodies pass before the eye of the soul as we gaze upon the curtain of this sacred penetralia, each orb belonging to some portion of the astral man, each great planet constituting some vital function of the macrocosmic organism, and conferring those qualities upon each and every single atom pertaining to that degree of life, so that the solar system becomes individualized as a grand cosmic organism, its attendant satellites constituting its vital organs, and the shining zodiac its outward form. So also each planet is a living, cosmic individual, intensely alive, living, moving, breathing, and bringing forth its offspring of like substance matter in obedience to the potential demand of incarnating spirit. The sun is alive, glowing with life, and constitutes the heart and arterial center of all the circulating fluids of the stellar anatomy. Scientists may continue to predict, as they have been predicting, the day when solar radiation will cease, but their predictions will prove as worthless as the sighing of the summer wind, so far as reality is concerned. It is an incomprehensible mystery to science, says Sir Robert Ball in his Story of the Heavens, how the sun has been able to maintain its heat with such regularity in the past, for there has been no appreciable change in the Earth's temperatures for thousands of years. What it is today, it was 10,000 years ago. Yea, Sir Robert Ball, and will be in 10,000 years to come. You may wonder, and the Royal College may wonder, but in the meantime, the mighty, pulsating sun continues beating out its rhythmic vibrations of spiritual and dynamic life, continues and will continue to send the exhilarating current throughout every atom to the remotest part of his solar dominions, and the same current returns to him again, undiminished, for the purification which his glowing, transmuting photosphere alone can give, to be sent forward again upon its mission of light, life, and love around the vital organic worlds of the astral organism. There is nothing lost, no radiation of energy dispersed upon the uniformed, lifeless ether. From the radiating solar focus of divinity, it comes, and to him, undiminished, it returns, and so on forever and ever, until the last Deific atom has won its laggard way back to the shining throne of God. The sun breathes, the pulsating process of dynamic respiration, eternally repeated during the grand period of a solar lifetime, renews its vital energies and supplies itself with the full abundance of the ever-living spirit transmitted from the shoreless ether in which it lives. It needs no other food except the magnetic nutriment it receives from each vital organ or planet in return for the electrical life current it transmits to them. Just as the human lungs inflate themselves with the vital atmosphere, which is only the ether, dynamically diluted by the earth to harmonize with our conditions, to oxygenate the blood and add fresh fuel to the physical furnace, or supply finer essences to the nervous centers. Just as the human heart, with its continual rhythmic pulsations, propels forth the circulating fluid to every part of the human frame, so does the central heart and lungs of the grander man of the skies, the sun, send forth its vitalizing energy to every part of the universe. Such are the crowding thoughts, born of interior knowledge, that flood the mind as we view these sacred revelations within the sacred chamber of the soul. As yet, We are gazing upon the undulating flow of the astral light. We yearn within our utmost being to become the center of the penetralia, and gaze upon the glorious radiance of the Odani, from whose ineffable presence we are only screened by the last shining veil of semi-transparent matter, that waves and trembles with every spiritual aspiration. The soul sends forth its pleading cry for light. Who and what is God? Faintly, as the distant vesper sounds upon the cooling eve, comes the answer. Who and what art thou? What canst thou see? What delectable blessing does nature vouchsafe to the pure in heart? We tremble with the awful, yet thrilling revelation. We know dimly, yet fail to realize in our outward consciousness the full import thereof. We realize wherein the mistaken selfhood hath become the only begotten of the Father, but the revelation is too much and too little. We know that, faint as the voice seemed to the yet unprepared soul, an echo only, it was the voice of the Adonai behind the veil. And now we crave the knowledge of the where and whither. Again, we see the earth as the vital function of the interplanetary being. It is composed of substance termed matter, which substance is the aggregation of countless atoms, which science has not, and never can, resolve into their individual selves. These atoms are rings of the atomless ether, which, thus, differentiated from the formless ether, become centers of force, the center of such force being a vacuum within the atomic ring, a center so small that a microscope with lens 1,000 times as powerful as the most perfect modern instrument would fail to reveal it. These atoms form systems under the control of another apparent vacuum, or, rather, this vacuum seems to be the focus or center about which they revolve. This system constitutes a scientific molecule of matter, and, in response to the innumerable vibrations, they assume different forms or dimensions, and become indifferently molecules of oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, or carbon, as the case may be, all of which are but different modes of motion of the same primitive atoms, there being in nature but three things: ether, intelligence, and motion. What ether is, no one knows. We call it the formless spirit, the unmanifest, etc. But there can be no doubt but that motion is the product of intelligence, since we never see motion but as the manifestation of evolution, and this is the expression of mind. Therefore, we have a duality, ether and intelligence, one the living spirit, the other the eternal substance for its manifestation. Every molecule of matter is the outward form, the center of which is the incarnating spirit in some degree of progress. Man's physical organism is a system of life and development for countless billions of them. So the earth, in its functional expression as the womb of nature for the outward expression of man, is only so in a material sense. He is prior to the planet. He, man, is only the offspring of the planet by virtue of his material body being a part of the substance of the earth. This life is a stage only of his material journey, and just as man's body is continually throwing off useless dead matter and replacing the same with new life, so, too, the countless organic forms of earth are hourly returning to the ground from which they sprang, and new forms, rising from the same dust, are taking their places. Here, then, is the sum total. First is revealed to us the grand astral man, the zodiac being the outward idea or form. the sun and his system, the vital functions thereof. The earth, apart from its functional expression or place, is also an individual. Man, apart from forming a molecule of the planetary womb, by comparison, is also an individual. And, lastly, every molecule of man's organism is also, in reality, an individual, and small only by comparison with the human frame. And as there are the high solar archangels of the sun, and a chief amongst these seated upon his throne of fire, so there is an archangelic chief of the earth, surrounded by descending degrees of wisdom and power to man, who also, in his turn, stands as the deific center and chief of his being, his soul being the sphere of consciousness, which, when united to the feminine soul, constitutes the angel of life eternal. Down still we go, and find that this divine scale of life and being is, from the lowly molecule, system upon system, climbing, sphere upon sphere, upward and onward, forever, evermore, and all eternity cannot bring nearer the end of man's glorious immortality. In the full revelation of this divine scheme of creation, so full of light, life, love, joy, and harmony, a scheme void of death and annihilation, the mind once more reflects upon the physical illusions of slowly advancing scientific thought. Camille Flammarion, the great psychomaterialist of France, has painted in his various novels a lurid, almost horrible picture of what the mighty universe must become from the logical deductions of his own school of thought, a school which would be best named as transcendental materialism. According to this conception, thousands, aye, millions of worlds are rushing through space, inert, frozen, and dead. Suns have cooled down and ceased to give forth the life-sustaining element of light, but have still retained their mighty attraction upon their attendant planets, according to the laws of gravity, by virtue of their material mass, and thus hold their planetary offspring in the eternal cold, icy grasp of death. Our sun, too, is cooling fast. The earth has already lost a great portion of her own internal heat. She has passed her prime of life, and death, cold, icy death, has already begun to encroach upon her extremities. The South Pole, the feet, is now practically lifeless in one perpetual covering of ice. So, too, her head, her locks are the white of perpetual snow. No longer has she the blush and beauty of youth, no longer adorned with the healthy covering of verdure which youthfulness gives, and, as our geologists prove, was once the case. So that, although the time may still be long, according to our reckoning of years, it is only a brief moment in eternity when this fair earth, and also the beauteous splendor of the silent stars, will be locked forever in darkness and the final sleep of doom. If this be so, we ask of the inmost soul, if life be but the fitful awakenings of the indestructible spirit, ebbing and flowing in response to the rise and fall of nature's cosmic barometer, and the transmutations of matter. If life is, in reality, but a brief and passing moment, eternally repeated, from the flush of youth, the gilded salon, to the bier and the shroud, then why, oh why should the spirit of mortal be proud? Why aspire to penetrate the inward realities of life and enter the Holy of Holies to seek and find out God? As the rushing torrent of this thought swept o'er the mental chambers of the soul, and saturated the spirit with its icy sting, as it lay still chained within the prison house of matter, the higher self rose, sublime in its grandeur and consciousness of divine relationship. Oh, why should the spirit of mortal be proud? Why aspire to penetrate the inward realities of life and enter the Holy of Holies to seek and find out God? As the rushing torrent of this thought swept o'er the mental chambers of the soul, and saturated the spirit with its icy sting, as it lay still chained within the prison house of matter, the higher self rose, sublime in its grandeur and consciousness of divine relationship, and, in the last earthly appeal for light, for divine truth, as to man and his immortality, it turned in reverence and awe before the still, shimmering veil of the sacred penetralia. The trial had come, the crucial test, whether of life or death, the final revelation to man. In purity of heart and humility of soul, we await in agonizing suspense. There is a thrilling sensation, as though of 10,000 electric currents consuming the frame, and a swaying to and fro, as if drifting upon an ocean of fire. Then a dead silence, so profound that whole eternity seemed to pass, without either beginning or end. And the sight of the inward spirit is opened slowly. Who? Where? What? For the shadows have fled. The luminous curtain fades, is gone, and flashing before the inward sight stands the ineffable Adonai. It is I, you. There is no God but this, and in one moment the interior consciousness becomes at one with self, God, and from that inconceivable height of profound vision we again look upon nature. Behold, sun, moon, and planets in all the original magnificence of their nebulous luminosity. From nebulous rings we proceed, stage after stage, each producing its own degrees of life. On we pass the ages, the geological cycles of inconceivable duration in time, but only a mere instant in eternity, and on as the changes roll, until we see Earth as she is now, still on as the ever-urging desire of the triumphant soul, and a remarkable change is apparent. From forces at present latent, there comes a change, and instead of so-called physical electrical races have superseded the present humanity, crystallization has ceased, and all things become lighter in density and more ethereal in nature, and the orbit of the earth grows less. Nearer and nearer shines the mighty sun. First Vulcan, then the swift messenger of the gods are indrawn within the solar vortex, each absorption producing a cataclysmic change upon our earth. Then comes the turn of Venus, while slowly and surely the orbit of the earth contracts and nearer shines the sun. And finally, the beautiful earth, her mission over, the last atom of life, beyond her rule, inward she sweeps and is lost in the mighty ocean of fire as a stone is lost in the lake. Verily is the word of prophecy a literal truth. The earth shall be destroyed with fire, and so on with the rest, each planet in its proper turn, fulfilling the functions at present performed by the earth, each becoming the grand theater of material and ethereal life, and the cometary bodies today chasing unknown orbits in the realms of ether, gradually fall into line when their erratic cycle is ended, taking the places of the present outermost planets. No such thing as death, no such thing as the dark silence of eternal night for any organic creation of the Most High. From the sun they come, and unto the sun each must ultimately return, even as the body of man, coming from the dust of earth, must also return thereto, to be taken up in new forms and furnish substance for other degrees of life. And thus will it be until the sun, in its mighty solar heavens of purified spiritual life, will form the last, the final battleground of matter, receiving its new life from a greater center than itself. A glorious solar world, well typified in the last battle of the gods, and the new earth, a world whereon the angels tread, and superlatively beautiful forms, clothed with the ideals and emanations of their own divine purity, souls clothed in air, treading the ethereal realms of light as the children of God and the inheritors of the kingdom of heaven. Must the searching eye of the soul seek further? Must the insatiable thirst of the spirit launch out upon the trackless infinities of the yet to be? Must it still penetrate further in the profound beyond, where time ceases to be, where the past, present, and the future are forever unknown, but exist only as the definite consciousness of the eternal now? No. The soul at last rests satisfied. The final revelation is over. My brother, we have done, and, in closing, have only to add that, not until the speculating philosophy of earthly schools blend with the science of the spheres in the full and perfect fruition of the wisdom of the ages, will man know and reverence his Creator, and, in the silent penetralia of his inmost being, respond in unison with that angelic anthem of life. We praise thee, O God. My brother, we have done, and, in closing, have only to add that, not until the speculating philosophy of earthly schools blends with the science of the spheres in the full and perfect fruition of the wisdom of the ages, will man know and reverence his Creator, and, in the silent penetralia of his inmost being, respond in unison with that angelic anthem of life. We praise thee, O God. End of section 14. Recording by Jill Preston. End of The Light of Egypt and the Science of the Soul and the Stars, Volume 2, by Thomas Burgoyne.